I didn't mean to stop there. My GPS rerouted me after a road closure, pushing me off the highway and onto a narrow two-lane road that seemed to stretch forever. No streetlights, no houses, just fields and tree lines that felt too still. I hadn't seen another car in 20 minutes when the Walmart sign appeared in the distance. It shouldn't have been comforting, but it was. The sign flickered faintly against the dark sky, standing alone in a massive empty parking lot. Rural Walmart, the kind that serves 5 small towns and sits like a glowing island in the middle of nowhere. I needed gas, I needed caffeine, and honestly, I needed to not feel like I was the only person left on Earth. There were cars in the lot. Not many, maybe 10, all parked near the entrance, perfectly spaced, like someone had placed them carefully. That was the first thing that felt off. People don't park like that. I brushed it off. Small town, different habits. The automatic doors slid open before I even reached them. The store was bright. Too bright. Fluorescent lights humming loudly overhead. The air smelled faintly metallic, like rain on concrete. There were customers inside, at least a dozen that I could see. A woman standing in the produce section holding a single apple, an older man near electronics staring at a wall of televisions, a teenage couple frozen mid-step in the snack aisle. Frozen. That's not an exaggeration. They weren't moving, not browsing, not checking phones, not adjusting their carts, just standing. I slowed my pace. Maybe I'd just walked in at a weird moment. Maybe I was overthinking it because of the long drive. The woman in produce turned her head toward me. Not her body, just her head. Her eyes locked onto mine. She didn't blink. I gave a polite nod, the kind you give strangers in stores. She didn't react, didn't blink, didn't breathe as far as I could tell. I moved past her quickly. Okay, fine. Weird, but fine. I grabbed a cart mostly for the comfort of pushing something in front of me. The wheels squeaked loudly, echoing more than they should have in a building that size. Every sound felt amplified. I turned into the drinks aisle. There were 3 people there, all facing the shelves, all standing completely still. I watched carefully this time. 10 seconds. 20. None of them shifted weight. None of them adjusted their hands. None of them blinked. One of them slowly turned his head toward me. The motion wasn't natural. It was too smooth, too controlled, like something wearing a person instead of being one. His eyes were wide, dry, unblinking, and focused entirely on me. My mouth went dry. I grabbed the first energy drink I saw without looking at the label and stepped backward into the main aisle. That's when I noticed something else. No one was talking. Not a single conversation, no cart rattling, no children crying, no distant announcements over the speaker. Just the hum of the lights and the sound of my breathing. I looked toward the registers. There was a cashier standing behind one of them, smiling at nothing. I approached slowly. Her eyes shifted to me before I was halfway there. She didn't blink. "Hi," I said, testing my voice. It sounded too loud. Her smile widened slightly. Not friendly. Measured, like she was adjusting it. "Did you find everything you were looking for?" she asked. Her voice was perfectly even, no accent, no tone change, no warmth. "Yeah," I said. "Is it always this quiet in here?" Her eyes didn't leave mine. "Yes." She didn't elaborate. I glanced behind me. The customers were closer now. Not rushing, not running, just repositioned, all of them facing in my direction, still not blinking. My heart started to pound. "How late are you open?" I asked. "We do not close." Not don't, do not. Something in the store shifted, a subtle movement, like synchronized adjustment. Every head in the building turned toward me at the same time. Not fast, slow, precise. My chest tightened. "Okay," I said quickly. "Actually, I think I forgot something in my car." The cashier's smile twitched. "You just arrived." That's when I realized I never told her that. I never said I'd just gotten there. I stepped back. The automatic doors at the entrance slid shut. I hadn't seen anyone near them. The customers took one synchronized step forward, still silent, still staring, still not blinking. I ran, not toward the exit, toward the back of the store. I don't know why. Maybe some instinct told me not to turn my back on whatever was happening near the doors. I pushed through housewares, knocking over a display. The crash echoed violently, but none of them flinched. They just changed direction. All of them. At once. Following. I reached the employee-only doors near the stockroom and shoved through them. The lights back there were dimmer, flickering. Shelves stretched high toward the ceiling, stacked with unopened boxes. And at the far end of the corridor, there were more of them, standing between the shelves, facing me, unblinking. One of them opened their mouth. It stretched too far, and in a voice that sounded like 10 people speaking at once, it said, "You are not from here." The voice didn't echo. It layered, like multiple throats were trying to use the same mouth. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a pallet of boxed microwaves. The thing standing between the shelves took a step forward. Its jaw was still stretched too wide, like it had forgotten how far a human mouth is supposed to open. Behind me, I heard movement. Not running, not footsteps, just synchronized shifting. They were closing in from both ends of the stockroom. I looked left and right. No windows, no emergency exit sign glowing red in the dark. Just endless shelves and faces that didn't blink. "I'm just passing through," I said, my voice cracking. "My GPS rerouted me. I don't even live anywhere near here." The nearest one tilted its head. All the others copied the motion. "You entered," it said. "You were observed." Observed? Like I'd walked into a cage. The fluorescent lights flickered once overhead. For half a second, everything went dark. When the lights came back on, they were closer. No footsteps, no sound, just closer. I bolted down the nearest aisle. Boxes crashed behind me as I shoved them off shelves, trying to create obstacles. It didn't matter. They didn't trip. They didn't stumble. They simply adjusted their paths in perfect, silent coordination. I reached the end of the stockroom and found a metal door. No label, no window. I didn't hesitate. I shoved it open and stumbled through. It wasn't outside. It was the sales floor again. But it wasn't the same. The aisles were wrong. Longer. Too long. They stretched far beyond what the building should physically allow. The ceiling seemed higher, the lights harsher, the shelves fully stocked but perfectly aligned, every label facing forward with unnatural precision. And there were more of them now. Dozens, standing in every aisle, every single one staring directly at me, none blinking, none breathing. I backed away slowly. "You're not real," I whispered, more to myself than to them. "This isn't real." The cashier's voice came from somewhere above me, amplified without speakers. "We are very real." The customers began to move. Not walking. Gliding. Their feet stayed flat against the floor, but their bodies slid forward smoothly, closing the distance without bending their knees. I ran toward the entrance. The doors were visible now. So close. But as I reached them, they didn't open. The glass reflected my face back at me. Only, it wasn't moving with me. My reflection was still, smiling, unblinking. I staggered back in horror. The reflection tilted its head. Behind me, the entire store stopped moving. Silence. Then, in perfect unison, every single mouth opened. "We require replacement." The words vibrated through the building. Replacement. My mind raced. The cars in the parking lot, perfectly spaced. The lack of blinking. The silence. The fact that they never closed. This wasn't a store. It was a collection point. For people who wandered too far off the road. For people who no one would immediately miss. The reflection in the glass raised its hand and knocked. 3 slow taps from the other side of the entrance doors. I spun around. The customers were inches away now, close enough that I could see the dryness in their eyes, the way their skin didn't quite sit right on their faces, like it had been fitted in a hurry. One of them reached toward me. Its fingers were too long, its joints bent the wrong direction. I ducked and ran sideways down an aisle I hadn't noticed before. Electronics. Electronics. The televisions were on. Every single screen showed the same image, the parking lot. And on one of the screens, my car, parked neatly near the entrance. Except someone was sitting in the driver's seat. Me. Perfectly still, hands at 10 and 2, staring straight ahead, unblinking. "No!" I breathed. The version of me on the screen slowly turned its head toward the camera, toward me. And it smiled. Behind me, I felt hands grab my shoulders. Cold. Too strong. I thrashed, but more hands joined in. They didn't squeeze. They didn't hurt me. They just held me in place. The cashier stepped forward from the crowd. Up close, I could see faint seams along her jawline, tiny stitching marks near her ears. She reached up and gently touched my face. "Thank you for visiting," she said softly. The lights went out. For a long time there was nothing, no sound, no sensation. Then, fluorescent lights hummed back to life. I was standing near produce, holding an apple. A customer walked in through the automatic doors, alone, looking tired, looking relieved to see the lights. Our eyes met. He gave me a polite nod. I smiled, and I did not blink.